22nd of Kislev, during a regular year, especially because we start chapter 1 of L'Kutei Morim. We have learned in the end of chapter 3, an oath is administered to him. Be righteous and be not wicked, and even if the whole world tells you that you are righteous, regard yourself as wicked. This requires to be understood, for we have learned in the Mishnah of us, chapter 2, be not wicked in your own estimation. Furthermore, if a person considers himself wicked, he will be grieved at heart and depressed. If you go around the whole day thinking that you're a Russia, you're an evil person, you're going to be depressed, because who wants to be around an evil person, and you can't escape your own psyche. So if you're going to judge yourself negatively like this, you're going to become to sadness. And will not be able to serve God joyfully and with a contented heart, which is the ideal way of serving Him, through simcha, through happiness. It says in Gemara and Shabbos 30b, that the divine presence doesn't rest on someone who's sorrow or despondent or down, but only someone who's in a state of joy. While if his heart will not be at all grieved by this self-appraisal, he may lead to irreverence. I think it's frivolity is a better translation. God forbid. Meaning he may just walk around this world thinking everything's already done, everything's completed, I have nothing to do, and doesn't do anything, doesn't produce, God forbid. However, the above matter we find in the Gemara. 5 distinct types: a righteous man who prospers, a righteous man who suffers, a wicked man who prospers, a wicked man who suffers, and an intermediate man. Intermediate is called Beinoni. That's another name of this book is Sefer Shel Beinoni, the book of intermediates. The Beinoni. The Gemara explains the righteous man who prospers is the consummate tzaddik, the complete tzaddik. The righteous man who suffers is the imperfect tzaddik. In the Na'imeh Hamna Parshas Mispartim, it is explained that the righteous man who suffers is one whose evil is subservient to his good. A lot of commentary in Chabad.org for Shas daily study. In the Gemara and the Brachos of chapter 9, it is stated that the righteous are judged, in quotes, by their good nature, the wicked are judged by their evil nature. Intermediate men are judged by both. Rabbah declared, now he's going to tell you why he doesn't understand what the Gemara just says. I, for example, in a Beinoni, said Abaye to him, Master, you make it impossible for any creature to live. To understand all the aforesaid clearly, an explanation is called for. And also to understand the statement of Yoav, of Job, in Bava Brata, chapter 1. Lord of the universe, you have created righteous men, you have created wicked men, etc. For he does not decree which persons are to be righteous and wicked. Yoav says, Barat Zadik and Barat Rashaim, you created righteous and wicked, but Hashem doesn't decide who's righteous and wicked. That's up to free choice. We decide what we're going to do, how we're going to behave. And we're judged according to our behaviors, not according to how we're created. We must also understand the essential nature, Mahut, of the rank of Beinoni. What is the Beinoni? He is certainly not half virtuous and half sinful, which is, by the way, according to the Rambam in dry halacha, that's what it is. So the Rambam says no. For if this were so, and he's going to give a proof, how could the Rabbi Aaron classifying himself as a Beinoni? When it is known that his mouth never ceased from studying the Torah, so much so that even the angel of death had no dominion over him. This Rabbi was also, I think, happened to David the Melech. He's basically always saying Torah, and the Malach Mavis, angel of death wanted to come take his life, and he couldn't do it because he's involved in a mitzvah. So he made like a big wind in a far away, and Rabbi looked up for a second, and when he looked up, the Malach Mavis took his soul. How then could he err that half his deeds were sinful? God forbid. Such a person is called a Beinoni, half evil deeds. Furthermore, at the time one sins, he is deemed completely wicked. At the time you do a sin, and if he then repented, he is deemed completely righteous. So what does a Beinoni? What does a Beinoni come in? Even he who violates a minor prohibition of the rabbis is termed wicked, as is stated in Yevamos chapter 2 and in Nida chapter 1. Moreover, even he who has the opportunity to forewarn another against sinning and fails to do so is termed wicked in Shavua chapter 6. All the more so he who neglects any positive law which he is able to fulfill. For instance, whoever is able to study Torah and does not do so, I'm sorry, if you think that a time on the internet is an excuse not to do Torah, or free time like they call it to watch TV, what happens? To whom our sages have applied the verse, because he has despised the word of the God, of the Lord, that soul shall be utterly cut off. It is thus plain that such a person is called wicked, more so than he who violates the prohibition of the sages. This being so, we must conclude that the Beinoni is not guilty even of the sin of neglecting Torah study, which is, by the way, one of the 3 things we say every day. Chatanu, slach lanu v'in chatanu machalanu kifashanu. We ask for forgiveness 3 times a day in our davening. Why? Because no man can avoid this sin. Because there's free time is such a concept, it doesn't exist by God. You have free time, learn my Torah, learn my instruction. So every person asks for forgiveness 3 times a day for this. This is why Rabbah mistook himself for a Beinoni, because even the Beinoni doesn't have a Seveda. So now there's a footnote. As for what is written in the Zara, the third portion of the Zara, page 231, he whose sins are few is classified as the righteous man who suffers. How could it be if he doesn't have any sins, if he's righteous? Because a Beit Din doesn't even have sins. This is the query of Rab Hamuna to Eliyahu Hanavi. But according to Eliyahu's answer, the meaning of the righteous man who suffers is as stated in Hamnan on Pashas Mishpatim, quoted above, 21, which is the righteous man who suffers is one whose evil nature is subservient to his good nature. And the Torah has 70 facets, modes of interpretation. This is why he gave that answer. Rav Hamuna, he wanted to suggest an answer. So the Torah says there's 70 facets. It was an answer he could suggest, even though it's not right. But all these 70 facets, they're part of the Torah in a certain way. But still, the answer is the Alter Rebbe says that tzaddik v'rala, a tzaddik, an incomplete tzaddik, is someone is that he suffers, not that he has few merits. His good nature is overpowering his bad. His bad is subservient to the good. Thank you so much, and good Shabbos.